I took some time in the cold days of winter to make out a little map of my property. This is helping me have a method to my madness. I need to plant this chamomile today. And I went to my little chart, and there it is. I've got it just off of my driveway, and it's going to be to the left of my little Mary statue. I know exactly where I'm going to plant it, so that's what I want to get done today. And I've got a few other seeds that I'm going to put in a new spot that I created. Let me show you that. I decided to move my little green stalk to my porch. I need to put it where I'll see it to remember to water it, because I can tell you I forget to water it a lot. I just forget, and it was actually closer to my hose where it was, but I forget. What I'm going to do is I'm going to water it out here with gallon jugs of water just to get it taken care of, but it'll be right near my sink in my kitchen, and I can do that. It's got 3 levels, and I'm going to plant in it some sweet basil, some chives, some French sorrel, and some corn salad. I'm going to try to get that accomplished this morning and then move on to other things. I noticed on the back of my chamomile packet that it said plant in early spring or winter in mild climates, and we're considered a mild climate down here. And it just says smooth the top of the soil and scatter the tiny seeds thinly over the surface and water gently. I can do that really quick. That's the little side that I'm going to plant these on, the little side of the statue. And it's in my front yard, and it's not real convenient to drag water hoses up here all the time. Of course, I do it when I need to. But when you're trying to keep something moist every day for it to germinate, it's not quite as convenient. But what I'll do is, my sister had given me this little water jug a while back. I kind of keep it on my porch in case I need it. So all I have to do is just fill that up in my house every day and walk out here and water it real easily. So that's what I'll do to keep these moist. And I'm going to plant those really quick and check this off my list. Today is Wednesday. It's February 21st, and I have a ton of things I want to get accomplished. And I've lost time the last few days for different reasons, valid reasons, but I've lost time, and I'm trying to make some of that time up today. I'm trying to get some things ticked off my list and done. And this is going to start my day right here. The green you see here is not weeds. This is actually oats that I had planted. And they haven't gotten very big, but I'm just kind of using them to have roots in the soil and to kind of have a little soil structure. So I'm going to leave them here. I'm not worried about them. Whenever it warms up, they're going to die out anyway, so I'm not worried about them. I feel like if the chamomile takes off, it'll just overtake this anyway, so I'm not worried about it. I've never planted chamomile before. I know really nothing about a lot of herbs. I just really have never gotten into herbs. But this year, I had all these packets. I had been buying them and not planting them. And so this year I decided to just go ahead and take the plunge and plant them. And I don't know if I was supposed to have only planted a few and they're gonna go crazy or what. I just put the whole packet on there. The packet really wasn't that full, but I would rather them all just kind of come up and flourish. I've heard some of these, like yarrow and stuff, really will start taking over, but that's okay. This yard is kind of bare out here in the front. I have trouble growing some grass because of these trees, and so I don't really mind if I kind of end up with a little herb heaven out here. I don't really mind. I might regret saying that later, but it's okay right now if they start taking off and all. They're not really competing with anything, and I really would like to have a lot of pretty things growing, not only around this statue, but around the base of some of these trees around here, so I'm okay with that. I'm gonna water these in, and we're gonna move on. I think it said maybe 7 to 10 days you should start having seedlings. So I really can't wait. I know this is good for teas. I know medicinally chamomile can be good. I'm not up on all that, so I'm not really going to speak to all that right now, but it's just kind of powerful to feel that you might can start growing things and doing things that may be of benefit. And I actually, I'm wanting to kind of do this and start learning more about herbs. I have a lot on my plate that I'm wanting to learn about. But some of these medicinal herbs, for me, it's a real thing. It's not just if I get a cold, if I get the flu or whatever. It's a real thing. I kind of suffer from some inflammation. I don't have a diagnosis because I rarely go to the doctor anymore. But I do I get joint pains. I get really sore sometimes. And my feet hurt sometimes really bad. And I think I'm trying to change things in my diet, so I think will help. And it has gotten better. It used to be a daily problem, and now it's not. The other night I was laying in bed and I was like, I haven't really felt that way in a while now. Sometimes it would hurt just to even put my hands under my face to go to sleep. My hands would hurt to where I would have to move them because they would be hurting. And that's not good. That's not good. But I don't want to go get on a bunch of medicine, and I don't really, I think I'd rather try things from here on out with my diet and with maybe herbs. And then if there's still a problem, okay. But I'm getting older, so things are going to happen. But if I can kind of fill up my yard with things that might help me and keep me out of the doctor's offices, I'm cool with that. And while I'm talking to y'all, somebody's looking at me, and I know what she wants. She's right here at the fence every day because she wants me to get her some of these oats that are in my garden and bring to her. I've started doing that instead of apples, and she loves them. So she heard me out here today, and that's what she's wanting. Let me grab her some. Good girl. I'm gonna also walk out here this morning and take this jug of Miracle-Gro that I mixed up. It's gonna be about one of 3 jugs that I'm gonna mix up, but I'm gonna go pour it on my garlic. Last year, I planted garlic and I planted the little toes. And basically what happened is I grew just a little bit bigger toes. I did not grow bulbs and heads of garlic. It didn't happen. This year, I'm trying to remember, because it's easy to forget fertilizing things. But I'm trying to remember to come out here and do this every now and then. The last time I did it, I could really tell a difference. I know there's a lot of people that are against using lots of different types of fertilizers. I've got no problem with using some Miracle-Gro. Yes, it can kind of be a crack cocaine for these plants if you overuse it and you just make them completely dependent on it. But I'm just trying to get some garlic, and if this will help, that's fine with me. I don't have a lot of things like chicken poop and all that to use, so I've got to use what's available to me. Sometimes I'm not real good at prioritizing. I get kind of overwhelmed because I have so many things I need to get done. And I try to go to bed at night and I try to think, what do I need to do the minute I'll get up tomorrow? Like, what is the big thing? And sometimes my days just take on a life of their own. If someone calls and wants to invite us somewhere or something, we go ahead and go. I'm not so stuck with a schedule that I have to do things to the extent that I'm blocking out other things. I just go ahead and we do, and then I'll get back to it. But when I get back to it, sometimes it's all becoming a jumble because I've added things to it in the meantime. So today, like for instance, I still need to work on the steps for this porch. I can come outside and enjoy it from the inside of my house, but we can't walk up and down it because I have no steps. So I'm trying to think to myself, should that be my big priority today? Or should I work on the fence on the other side? Because I have things I want to do on both of them, Maybe I could get it all done today. I don't know. The reason I'm kind of thinking I need to just focus myself on these steps is because I still have my saw and everything set up from the other day, and I need to finish so that I can clean off my carport. The only way I can clean the saw up and everything, though, is to get the steps finished and to get the last of the bracing put on. I think I'm talking myself into going ahead and doing that today, even though really my mind is more into creative things. Let me show you something I was really wanting to kind of do today. You know how when you say you buy a new bed and you buy yourself a new comforter set because you haven't had one in years, all you really want is to see the comforter set on the bed. You want to see how pretty your room looks. But you can't. You have to spend an entire day or more taking the old furniture down and pulling it out of the bedroom, and then setting up the new bed and building it with all the screws and parts that come with it. And then you have to do the mattress. It's just a mess. You need to dust, you need to do everything till finally you can put the comforter on the bed and the sheets and see how it looks. And then when you get all that done and you get that comforter on, you're back to feeling like you have a pretty room. But it's a messy process in the meantime. Right now, I would love to get this gate hung. I've kind of figured out I'm going to have a few extra inches than what I thought on the sides of it, but that's okay. I can figure it all out. I would rather have more room than not enough room, and I've actually run into that problem on this gate, but I finally figured out what I'm going to do with it too, and I'll tell you about that another time or maybe later in this video. But today, I kind of want to get this gate hung, and I've got my hardware right here in this. And I think, y'all, I'm going to try to jump to the pretty ending of the bedroom first. I'm just using that as an example. But basically what I'm saying is I kind of want to see a little prettiness with this fence before I finish the porch steps and delay this. I think I'm just going to stop what I'm doing today and hang this gate. That's going to make me feel good. And it's just what I think I'm going to prioritize for today. Now, obviously, this gate is not meant to be any type of a farm gate, cattle gate, or anything. I'm ad-libbing with something I found on the side of the road. So therefore, when I went to get parts for it, the same kind of parts you use to put, say, a cattle gate up, because I want this gate to open and shut. I want it to swing like this and everything. And you have to have certain kinds of parts to put on there. You can't just have something that's not going to rotate. Anyway, this right here is a 1 3/8 inch bracket, and that is the smallest I could find. I kept telling the people, I said, well, my little gate's only about an inch, but I went everywhere, and it's not worth the gas sometimes to keep looking and looking and looking. And no, I didn't get online, but from all the co-ops around here, this is the smallest piece I could find, and hardware stores. I went in hardware stores too. But when I finally put this on here, it's going to have a little play in it. I'm going to just actually, I made a decision. I'm just going to actually shim this. I'm just going to shim it with something. I don't think you're going to see it a whole lot when you're coming to open the gate, and it's just got to get done. Also, at the ends here, you see where it has the little openings? You put a little bolt with a screw there. I might can tighten it a little bit more. You know, as I do the little nut, I could probably tighten it some more and make it clamp a little more. And then whatever space is left over in the end, I'm going to shim it with something. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. I'm not going to go crazy looking for a 1 inch bracket for a fence post. I'm just not going to. This is actually what holds it all together. You take this thing and you pre-drill a hole into your post, and you screw this in, and then the part that's hooked to your gate sits on top of that like that, and it's able to rotate on it, but this part is secured into your pole. I was fortunate to have this cattle gate at the back of my property to where I could look to see how all this worked. And that's how it is. Now this is the top bolt. The bottom bolt down here, they actually have facing down. Now you can see the little bracket that goes onto the gate droops down a little bit. That's because there's really nothing there to stop it from drooping down. However, if I were them, I would have just raised that bracket a little bit to where it sat evenly like right to where it sat way up here. You could have just raised this thing up a little bit, but they didn't. They just went ahead and let it droop. It can't fall off because this one won't let it, because this one is as far down as it'll go, and gravity just won't let it go any farther than that. So thereby the bottom one stays to where it's not falling off. But if I were them, I would have come back and raised that little bracket a little bit. But I like the way they turned that bottom one down, because when you think about it, if both of them are facing up, which a lot of people do, I've been riding around lately looking at people's cattle gates for this reason, because I noticed mine had one turned up at the top and one turned down at the bottom. And I thought, well, that's smart, because it makes it where someone can't just drive up, a couple of men, and just lift your gate off the hinges. If both of them were facing up, it seemed like the gate could just be lifted up off those hinges and moved out of the way, and then someone drive on your property. That's my thinking. If you have a lot of cattle gates, hint, hint to some of the men that are following me that I know have farms and operations, if you have cattle gates, how do you have your gate? I'm thinking that I'm going to put the bottom one down. I'm just going to make sure that my bracket is hooked in such a way that it's tight against the little thing that's screwed into your post, and the little post thing that comes out that your gate hooks on, that it's screwed in such a way that it hugs both of those brackets. And that's my thinking, because you've taken the time to screw the things into your post and turn them the wrong way, and then make sure your other little brackets are hooked in such a way, I felt like they wouldn't be able to just drive up and pop your gate off. Now, this bed gate, I'm not as worried about. It's going to be to where it can be just opened and walked through. That's not a problem. What I'm really talking about, though, is my cattle gate. My bigger gate. I bought a 12-foot brand new gate the other day, and it actually comes with the brackets and all on there. It's got all the hardware with it. And so I need to go ahead and install that here shortly. And I'm just wondering if you think it's a good idea to put the bottom post facing down to make sure somebody can't pop your gate off. Or maybe they can't pop it off even if it was facing up. What do y'all think? Give me your advice on that. I'm always looking for help, and I'm getting more and more to where I really depend on some advice on some of these things, because this is stuff I've never dealt with in my whole life. Cattle gates, not my purview until now, but I'm trying to learn what to do, and I want to do it the right way first. I don't want to have to be dealing with that gate and chalking it up and trying to fix it later. I'd rather deal with it now. So I'd appreciate your advice. It's windy out here. I may have to do a voiceover, but I just wanted to say it took me a good while to get even this first post on here. This is a 5/8 inch screw that goes into the post. The largest bit that I have is a 1/2 inch, and I can only put a 1/2 inch in my screw gun because it only has a 1/2 inch chuck on it to where I can't fit a bigger bit in there. But that's okay usually, because when you're when you're drilling a hole, you don't want it the same size as your screw, because you want your screw to have a little bit of bite on the wood when it goes in. However, this one is so heavy and so thick that I could not get it in just twisting it on my own. And so I finally figured out, because I was like, how am I going to get this screw into this? I'm not strong enough. So I finally thought about it, and I went and got my big wire cutter thing. This is just a big old heavy wire cutter thing, and I was able to kind of put it on there and use it as leverage to turn it. But you can always usually find something laying around the house that will work for what you need. I just needed something to give me leverage to be able to turn and twist this thing, and it's that long, so I got it in there as far as I needed it. But at least I know right now that I'm able to do it. I'm getting ready to put the bedpost onto the fence. I've got the post ready with the screws in the post, but I wanted to tighten this screw that goes in the back of the bracket. I told you earlier that this bracket was going to be too big, and it is. It is. It doesn't tighten up around this post like it would around a regular fence post. But I got this screw to go to where this touches, so I've got it screwed as close as I can. I might see if I can get my son later to come with the grinder and just grind off this part so that it's not so far out. But what I'm going to need to do is put a little shim in here. It might be another big screw like this. I might just slide down in here and that might work. A piece of metal of some type, but I'm going to put a little shim in here, and that'll help keep this pole of the gate from being able to rock back and forth. And it'll go this way. The little stop from the thing I put into the post will come up through there. If I put a shim here, it'll kind of keep this bracket from moving. That's my thought. I'm hoping it'll work. So I've got this one done. I've got to do the bottom one, and then I'm going to try to hang it on the gate and just see what we're looking at. But I think I remember earlier telling y'all that sometimes my days take on a life of their own, and that's what happened today. I was plugging away today with my little task. I started my video. I had about 10 things I could have showed you today, but as I was doing this fence gate, my phone rang, and I was on a podcast, the very first time anybody's ever interviewed me or talked to me about anything. But I was on a podcast Monday night. He had asked me to tell some of my family and friends about the broadcast so that it could get some traction and stuff. It's done pretty good, I think, considering comparing it to how my videos do sometimes. I think it's done pretty good. But that's what he does on his channel, so he wanted to see if I would share it and stuff. So I shared it with some friends today. And then I just had the most special thing happen. One of their children called me and just said he had watched it, and he just wanted to talk to me about it and tell me how it hit him and how special it was to him. And we ended up talking probably 25 or 30 minutes. And let me tell you something, and you all probably know this, I'm just saying it out loud for the world. When a kid calls you, I call him a kid because I'm older, he's married with children, but when a kid calls you and says something about anything about their life and how something moved them, or how they just want to talk to you or whatever, you just stop what you're doing. You just stop. All that little prettiness about me wanting to get the fence done, that just faded to the background. And I was sitting out here, and you can hear the traffic now, and when he was talking to me, we had a lot of traffic. But I tell you, for a little while the world just stopped. I didn't really hear the noise too much. I was trying to hear every word he said, and to be quiet when I needed to be quiet, and to add something if I needed to add it. And I was praying simultaneously while I was talking to him, because I know how it's just not that easy to just give an adult that's older than you a phone call and all of a sudden go into a deep discussion with them. That's hard. It's hard for me. And so I wanted to give him 1,000% attention, and I feel like I did, and we had the best time. And as things work in this world of God and Christ and everything, I got more out of it probably than he did. That's what happens. I'm not some kind of Yoda that teaches anything. I'm learning and absorbing as I go, and I hope I'll be doing that till the day I die. And so as I'm speaking to him, I do understand he's calling me with some respect and reverence for what I had put on that broadcast, and he wanted to talk about it. But also, I'm just amazed at his spiritual growth and how he's taking control of his life and getting things straight that I know I wasn't doing at that age. Not that I was crazy and wild or anything, but I don't know. Well, let me stop, because on that podcast the other night, I said it took me until I was 32 to join the church, and that's about the same kind of age. And so at 32, I was trying to get my life straight and get my kids and my husband and I all under the same roof to worship together, to be united under one church, whatever that means for you. At the time, for me, it meant that I wanted to become Catholic. I know God calls all kinds of people in different directions sometimes, because what you need in your life is what you need in your life at that time. And if you follow Christ, your path may take all kinds of directions that have nothing to do with how my paths in my life took me. But I guess is at about the same age when I just really tried to get my life straight and tried to get things going. And maybe that's what happens when you are married and you have a few kids and you're just looking at the world a different way. But all I know is, if an opportunity like that arises, stop. Stop everything. Stop driving, or stop texting, stop looking at your Facebook, stop watching videos, stop putting hardware onto gates. You just stop and you listen and you talk and you just be there, because these are the moments that define lives. And if you are so blessed as to be in a moment like that, just stop everything and do it. So I got it hung. There it is. Right now it's about as level as it can be. I hung it a little bit off the ground on purpose. These curlicue things are all at the top, and they're pretty. I kind of wanted them chest high or something when I walked up. Now it's pretty plain down here. This right here is like the leg of the bed. That's the leg of the bed. And then all this area is just open. I mean, there's nothing to it. That would be the part behind your mattress, so no need for curlicues all back there. But what I'm gonna do, I think, is I'm gonna get me some little either chimes or bells, and I'm gonna hang them with string or with hooks or something like that, and I'm gonna hang them on this gate. I think it'll sound nice when the wind's blowing, but also if at night someone comes through this gate or this gate gets opened, I'll hear it. I don't think anybody walking up here in the pitch black is gonna know there's little chimes and bells hanging on it, and I'll hear it. I'm trying to do a lot of different things that I can to just kind of put little security things around my house. And I thought that at this bottom part, since it was so empty and plain, that it might look good to do something like that. I told you there was maybe an issue with my big gate, but I think it solved itself. My gate back there, the opening between the two big posts was 145 inches, which is 12 foot 1 inch. We were shooting kind of for that on this one. We ended up with 145 and a half, which is 12 foot 1.5 inches. So that's fine. But the problem was, when I went to go buy this gate, the little girl told me it was 144 inches. It was 12 feet exactly. And then I knew that I had little hardware at the ends that stick out. So I was like, I don't know if that's going to fit in the opening. And I thought maybe my old gate was just a different size, because maybe it was made 50 years ago and it was a different size. And I never thought about that before doing my opening for this gate, because number one, I was going to take the old gate and bring it forward and put it here. Decided not to do that, decided to get me a new gate, and I never really thought that they were different. But I just went ahead and ordered the 12 foot. I figured, well, if worse comes to worse, what I'll do is I'll just take my hardware, and instead of putting it on the inside of the post, directly perpendicular and opposite to the other post, I could just put my hardware a little to the front, and then just kind of have my gate mounted towards the front of the post. Not all the way to the front, but a little towards the front, which would buy me an inch or so on either side of the gate. Now that would interfere, of course, with your gate being able to swing both ways. It would only swing out toward the front of my house. But I was willing to take that problem, because I didn't think I had any option. These posts are poured in concrete. There's no moving them. And if I had messed up and just not made this decision early enough and not decided to get a brand new gate and all, that was my fault. I made it late. I decided to get the brand new gate late. And if it didn't fit the opening, that was my fault. And if I could only have it open just this way and not just swing both ways, well, that would have been my fault. But it was, you know, a problem I was willing to worry about. But I got this gate laid down here and I measured it. The guy brought it yesterday and I measured it, and it's actually not 144 inches. It's 141 inches. And then when you add in the fact that you're going to have your hardware on either side, I have, let's see, I have 2.5 inches on one side and 2 inches on the other to play with. So I think I'm good. I think this gate will be able to be put on my post. I'll just have to screw the little screw stobs in all the way. I won't be able to leave them out 2.5 inches or so like I did on the little gate. I'll just have to screw them in all the way, and then that'll give me a couple of inches for swing on the other side. So it's all going to work out. It's all going to be all right. Well, y'all, I think I'm going to cut it off for today. Between the phone call, and I really have just felt a lot quieter since then. I really haven't been wanting to do a whole lot of videoing and things. I've got some more things I'm going to do inside my house tonight. I'm going to pot up some of my seedlings because it's time to pot them up. And Richard said we have a big stretch of warm weather coming. I'm going to double check that on my phone, but usually he's the weather guy in our house. He knows all the weather. So what I'm thinking is I could pot up a few of these things and go ahead and start putting them in some of my windowsills, the south-facing windows that stay really hot all the time. And I think they're going to do better. I need to start separating some of my tomato plants like now. And so I think I'm going to do that tonight. And that's something I'm just going to do inside later. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. I think this was a good day, a very good day. I will go to bed tonight just at peace. I'll go to bed at peace and just so happy with the few things I got accomplished, but with the wider scope of things, which I talked to you about before. And I think it's been a very good day. This is Lainey at Hilltop Home Place. Thank y'all for joining me. Y'all enrich my life, just being able to talk, and the feedback that I get from some of y'all is incredible, and I appreciate it so much. Y'all enrich my life a whole lot. Y'all have a great day and the rest of the week. Bye-bye.